everybody. Welcome to Plant a Good Seed podcast. And my guest today is the incredible Stephen Waters, the warrior himself. Hey, Stephen, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thanks for having me.
Good. Glad you're here. Let's jump on in. So you just got off a shift at work. How was everything this week? Did you save some lives this week or put out some fires?
Well, I'd like to think that me and the team that are there, I'd like to think that we help people save themselves. So we did our best, and they called. We showed up. So and everybody got to go home alive. So that's always a win.
Very much so. So let's jump on into this warrior business, if you will.
Yeah.
So just to tell folks, I met Stephen earlier this year at an Edgar Casey meditation course. And there was quite a few folks there, wouldn't you say?
30, I think in
30
total.
folks. And out of all those 30 folks, his comments and the things that he shared with the group were always in tune and showed how in tune he is with who he is. And then we had a great conversation where you shared with me about your warrior spirit. And will you share with all of us here a little bit about how you knew you were a warrior and how you came down this path?
Well, I think we all have a warrior spirit inside of us. When we say enough, we say our environment is not matching who we are, and we have to lean into the fight, and we have to fight for what we believe in, and whatever that may be. And as far as like when I knew I was a warrior, I think I was kind of naturally born this way, in that I kind of have that way about me, in that I'm passionate about what I believe in, and once I believe in something, it becomes who I am. And to not believe in it or to give it up is worse than dying. So you are what you believe, and if you're willing to fight and to die for what you believe in, then you know that you have a warrior spirit within inside of you, and you have activated that. Many times you won't know how much fight you have in you or the distance that you're willing to go until you're presented with an obstacle or a situation in your life that will bring that about. It will activate that within inside you. So either you'll succumb to your fear, or you will fight for what you love and what you believe in. So and sometimes it can be something very small, very private. It doesn't have to be a full-scale war. You don't have to be a veteran of an actual battle or physical war to know where your warrior spirit is at. Everybody has something that a fear that they battle against, so that they can get onto the other side of that battle. And the idea for every warrior is they seek balance. They seek harmony. They don't seek rage. They don't seek anger. They don't seek war and violence and things that are sometimes portrayed in movies and in battle scenes that we love to watch and are entertaining and are very glorious. But we seek peace that's on the other side of the battle. We seek to restore things to harmony. And many times warriors, and when you activate that warrior spirit within you, you seek to be at harmony. You seek to be at peace. You seek to be in balance. And that's what you're fighting for, is the things that you love that bring balance and harmony and peace to your life and make you feel connected and whole to everything else. A lot of times people think that a warrior is about his ego. A warrior is about...
Right. That's kind of my first thought, is like, you're going to fight.
Yeah, and it's about
Right?
destruction and carnage. And there are people that use those things in a violent way, and we think of that as a warrior as well, but we also think of the heroes that come out, that fight for that peace and that harmony to restore the balance. So there's always that fear, but there's always the ones that fight with love as well. So the two are always exist, at least in this world.
Well,
The
you've
two
got it. You always have the, the white and the black. You always have that duality of energies that you're working for. But I think it's just such a wonderful thing that, and I think Claudia just mentioned or just hit on it too, that what you're really seeking, you're a warrior, but you're fighting for balance and you're
Mhm.
fighting for peace, even though you're like the ones in the mix, right?
Right.
So let's talk a little bit. We talked the other day about the warrior code, the 3 steps, right, that warriors have in common. And I think
Yeah.
that really will help us understand this warrior's a true warrior, right?
Yeah.
Not a psychopath or sociopath, somebody that just likes to hurt
Yeah. Or
people.
someone that would
Like you
just,
said, the carnage and the pillaging
yeah,
and stuff. That's that's that's
they seek
that's actually somebody
violence
who's
for the
sick.
sake of violence. Yeah, it's like they seek conflict for the sake of conflict. They seek chaos for the sake of chaos. And it's something that I've definitely dropped into when I was in my younger days. And I actually served in the Navy. And I was a bit, if I have to admit, I was a bit of an adrenaline junkie. I liked the rush. I liked the sting of the stress that you would put yourself under, and it would activate your adrenaline, and then you get all fired up, and you just really
Right.
start to love that feeling, that euphoria you get, that everything kind of fades away and you become very, very hyper focused, and you're with a bunch of other guys that and you guys are moving and pushing towards a goal to achieve it. And there's a wonderful, that is a unique and wonderful feeling that I crave for a long time. And I found myself seeking um, violence, seeking
Yeah.
conflict, not really violence so much as conflict. I was always out there just looking for it, just looking for the next war, the next battle, the next conflict, because I wanted to get basically my fix, because that's where I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable in the chaos because I was chaotic within, and I wasn't healing everything that I needed to heal, and
Ah,
I wasn't at balance within myself. So the
right.
environment of chaos actually matched who I was at the time. But as you grow and get older and you become more aware of everything, you wake up, you realize that that's not what you were fighting for at all. And fortunately, there were other people in charge that had a greater vision than what the small window that I had. But I can't give full credit to these 3 things that I've kind of discovered. Uh, I read a book called 3 Simple Things by Tom Shea, and it's a part of the it's a wonderful book. I recommend to anybody that wants to learn how to activate their warrior spirit within them. That they read that book. It's unbelievable. I've only read halfway through it so far, and I found it definitely reaffirmed what I already knew to be true, and it's a really good book. So,
Awesome.
but one of the things is to know yourself. Now, he touches on 2 things in the book that are wonderful, and it's one things that you have to is honor your word
Yep.
and never give up. Which never give up is not an uncommon thing. An uncommon thing. So, I mean, everybody says, never, never give up, never, never give up, never, never give up. But what people don't really realize is that never giving up is the entire basis of the human spirit. It's not just warrior spirit, but a human spirit. In
Okay.
that if you give up, you die in ways that you may not die physically, but you give up on your dream. You give up on yourself. You give up on who you are. You give up on your children. You give up on your family members. You give up on yourself. And you give up on the things that bring life to your years
Right.
here, and to bring life to your time. And if you take away, what's worth living, then there's really, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's like you die inside anyway, so you're just here to drone on, and you don't want that. So you never, ever, ever want to give up on anything that you love or that you believe to be true. But the number one thing that my book actually touches on, and it's not really my book so much as it's Ignite Books, and it's called Ignite the Warrior Spirit. It is still in process because we're looking for more warriors to write about their experiences and put the chapter in. Each author writes his own chapter, and I was actually honored and asked and privileged enough to write a chapter in that book. And the title to the power quote was "Truth Revealed is Truth Instilled." So when you find a truth about yourself, that's a belief that you hold dear that you may not even be aware of. But you start kind of chipping away through the layers of who you are, And you kind of get out of your own, if you can get out of your own way by quieting your mind and asking yourself who you are, not just the labels and what you do and what
Right.
your job is, but who you are at your core and what you believe in, then you will begin to reveal really your code of who you are.
Code.
And that's how you get to know thyself, as the Bible speaks about, as many other, the Bhagavad Gita, many other books speak about know thyself, thyself. And a lot of times in Bhagavad Gita also, it spells self like God in the Bible with all capitals, SELF, self, as in the higher self, and many other things. So the important thing about knowing thyself is knowing that higher, that soul within you, that kid that you were when you were born, the kid you were born with, you when you were like 5 years old. Who were you? What were you about? What brought joy to your life? And what do you believe in? What do you know to be true, regardless of what your environment reflects,
So
regardless of
what,
what you've been taught or conditioned to believe? What do you
right, what
believe?
you're talking about is not the ego, it's the self.
Right.
It's your spirit, it's what's inside of you, right? That we lose through, sometimes we lose it through life because we think we need to be somebody else, or we think we need to do something else, right?
Yeah, it's you got to know what your code is. To be a warrior, to know what, to be angry and to just have fight and rage and frustration within you, you will succumb to your fear.
Right.
And you will succumb to the violence, and you will succumb to your adrenaline, and that's all you'll be. And it will eat you alive. It will put you in a very, very dark place. And that's not where you want to be. That's not why you're fighting the battle to begin with.
Right.
That's not your
Or shouldn't
purpose.
be.
I mean, it can be if you choose it to be. We are all free will beings, and you can choose that if you choose to. But I don't recommend it. It will not make you happy. But once you reveal the truth about yourself, and I found the best way to do that is through meditation, to be quiet, to be still, and to listen to your own voice. I also don't just do that when I sit, but I also do it when I work out, when I exercise, when I run, when I'm with my children, when I'm driving, when I'm doing anything. I try to stay as open as possible to my intuition and to listen to that. It's safeguarded me in the past, and it will give you good guidance. I promise that. So that way you kind of get to know yourself. But one thing that Tom Shea actually brings up in Three Simple Things, and I find is that also true that Dr. Wayne Dyer and several other books that I've read, My Wishes Fulfilled, The Law of Attraction by Abraham Hicks, many other
Yep.
books, they reveal that listening to your intuition is probably one of the best ways to do it. But also, your excuses will pop up too. So we're light in the dark, we're yin and the yang. And what will happen is when you're doing something that you said you were going to do, and you're trying to honor your word, and you're trying to be disciplined, and you're trying to learn about this, and you're trying to complete the task. If you're like me, there are I have 4 out of 10 things in my house, and 4 of those 10 things are all done by 20%. So I haven't completed all my tasks. I haven't completed them all done. That's okay. It'll all get done. But it's because excuses get in the way.
Right.
We find ways. So it's good to, okay, I'm gonna go for a run today, or I'm gonna go for a walk for 2 miles, or I'm gonna go to the beach, or I'm gonna do something I enjoy. Listen to the excuses that come up. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I don't
Right.
have time.
Right.
Oh, I don't have this. Oh, I don't have that. I not, blah, 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 blah.
I
And
can't. I
I can't,
shouldn't.
I shouldn't. Like,
Mhm.
if you say, and that goes back to the simple things of know yourself, listen to your excuses and things that you do, and then go back to, well, what did I say? Do I respect myself? Do I love myself? And if I do, I want to do these things. So why am I getting in my own way? Why am I allowing my excuses to tell me that I'm not good enough, that I don't love myself, that I don't deserve?
Right.
happiness. I don't deserve to go on this run. I don't need to honor myself. I don't need to honor my word. No, I just need to make excuses, and I'll just, let's say, and not, you know.
So that's
That frustrates you.
a
And
great point, though, that the
there'll be times when you
first
fail.
person a warrior honors is themselves. They have to
Absolutely.
know themselves first. And I love the way you said, listen to your excuses. So many of us make excuses and we're like, oh, that's bad. We shouldn't be making this. But listening to them, to hear what your voice is really telling yourself,
Mhm.
to help understand who you are. And by the way, Stephen, that's Mark. Mark, that's Stephen. I feel
Hey,
like introducing.
hey,
How you
Mark.
doing over there, Stephen? I was really listening to what you were saying. That was some really deep conversation that you were giving us, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, how many times? Because I've said this even on some of our other shows here on IBM.TV, that sometimes you talk yourself out of things. And I guess the
Yep.
warrior spirit is to not let yourself do that. Because I can't think of how many times there's been a job or an opportunity or even a relationship that I might have
Yep.
wanted to pursue. And then you're sitting there going like, you know, I'm not good enough or I don't have the skill sets for that job. And then
Yep.
9 times out of 10, you then talk to people and you find out that you did have the skill sets or you did have the ability to do the job if you would have just gone for the job. Or even in relationships, I remember there was a friend of mine that I thought was like I'll use a old cliche term. I thought that they were the cat's meow when I was in college and everything. And I really never pursued them and I never went after them. And they have since gotten married and have a very good life of their own selves and everything. But I never went in pursuit. But I remember talking to friends of mine in college, and this was, some decades ago. And they were like, Mark, you know that so and so also had a affection for you as well. If you had only actually gone and talked to them, you might have actually had that opportunity. But I didn't get that opportunity because I talked myself out of what could have been a good relationship. So I just think that that's an amazing thing that happens. And the other thing that I want to hear more from you and everything is I'm a big fan of Eastern philosophy. And I think that sometimes that's where the warrior spirit does come in. I remember growing up, and I'm aging myself now, but I used to watch Kung Fu. And part of the reason I used to watch Kung Fu was because I loved the advice that you would get from the David Carradine character. Now, I might have had some issues with David Carradine playing the roles because he did have any Asian background himself that I'm aware of, but the actual philosophy that he was sharing was a great philosophy. So I'm just, like I said, I enjoyed the show more for the philosophies than any of the things else that were going on. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about Asian philosophies and that warrior spirit in that sense.
Well, I love the Asian philosophies as far as Eastern. I feel they have not forgotten the ancient ways.
Yeah.
You know what we're discovering in the Western world is something the more I dig, the more I find that this stuff is very, very old, very, very ancient, and
Yes.
we have tended to forgotten who we are, and I think people are waking up at a rapid rate. The more I set to myself to that vibration of I want to learn more, I want to be more, I want to be more connected, I want to be more of a global citizen, more of a global person. Not that I'm not ever going to be an American citizen, and I always be an American, and that's who I am. That's where my home's at. That doesn't mean that I can't embrace people of other nations and other cultures and learn from them as well. I feel like America really pushes that in the freedom of we're going to engage, we're going to expand, even if it's painful, even if it hurts, even if we have to, conduct wars, we're going to grow as a nation, and we hope the world will follow. So, but with that, I love Tai Chi, and Tish knows this as well. And I do the basic flow of it on a regular basis, at least a couple of times a week, especially when I feel like meditating, but I don't want to sit. I tend to be very fiery, so I want to move. I want to get about. I want to jump and I want to get moving. And a lot of times, if I sit too long, if I get home, I'm restless. I've had too much coffee, whatever, and it helps me kind of move and be centered. So I really like the flow Tai Chi, the basic stuff that you've probably seen on TV. I really enjoyed that as far as an act. I really love the Brahma Gita, and I really enjoy yoga from time to time. It keeps me flexible. Even as a firefighter, we do yoga. So, and hot yoga too. So, we're not afraid of the heat,
Right.
and enjoying that. So I have more to learn. I have probably just scratched the surface, to be honest, with Asian philosophy. But I have found that what I have learned has been just mind blowing and really expanded my mind. And I really enjoy it. The Bhagavad Gita, actually, believe it or not, has a lot of similarities to the Bible. I grew up
Yep.
in a very religious home, and the Bible was always there. And I've actually have been a student for the Bible for a long time, and I find that it has a lot of threads and truths in it that are wonderful. But the more I read all these ancient teachings, I find that other religions are based on, not just Christian, that they have more in common than they'd like to admit, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
And many of those came before the Bible.
Yes.
And you can find some of the same parables in some of the ancient texts,
Funny how that
as
works.
well as, even current things. So, I mean, Asian philosophies, I think, are really a cornerstone of so many, I want to say, balanced philosophies, because you've got the Taoism and you've got Buddhism, as well as a lot of others. And it really they fit in with the 3 points of the warrior code: know thyself, your word is your sword, and never give up. Right?
Yeah.
Now, we can put each of those 3 through the different lenses of the different religions, and they'll be similar, a little bit different, but similar.
Mm-hmm.
But they all come down, I think, to a divine truth, right? That we're all connected and we all need to work together. And that's where the warriors come in, right? Either the warrior inside of each of us, because sometimes we can't be a warrior, either because our health isn't there, whether it's mental health, physical health, or we're in a bad situation. So it takes someone else to show us, to bring that warrior spirit, that energy of the warrior, right? To lead the way, to show that then we can do it ourselves.
Yeah,
right? Because as you opened with, everybody's got a warrior spirit, but it comes out at different times in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So to know the 3 cornerstones that you shared with us,
Yeah.
then we should be able to find our warrior spirit. Now, the question is the warrior code. Let's touch on that a little bit, because we talked about that quite a bit the other day, and how important you live or die by that code. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, you live or die by your code. The one thing I found that is common working with all types of warriors, talking with them, just having a drink with them in the bar, or talking with them at work, different ones. Everybody kind of has their own code. And they own their own way, their own sets of beliefs. But what you want it to really be, I kind of lost my thought there. What you really kind of want it to be rooted in.
Hey, Kimberly.
Sorry, keep going, please.
No, fine. You want it to be rooted in love, and who you are, and love thyself, and honor thyself. But it's every warrior I've ever met, they don't fear death.
Right.
And if they do fear death, it's not greater than the love of the things that they fight for in their lives,
right,
and their belief system. And most warriors do not fear the death that we think of. They think of it as, they fear failing. They fear failing their brothers beside them or their sisters beside them. They fear failing their code, failing their belief system, betraying themselves in their code. And that's why it's, you hear the expression ride or die all the time.
Right.
It's like either you do and you live by the code and the ethics and the beliefs and the morals that you believe in wholeheartedly and are willing to sacrifice for, die for, and what you live for, or it kills you, or you're dead, or you die. But that's okay, because the warrior never betrayed himself. He never broke the faith, and he became who he wanted to be.
Now, part of it too is the legacy you leave as a warrior too, right?
Well, I have my own thoughts about that. I mean, yes, you leave your example and you teach others by your example. A warrior is big about example most of the time, I've found. This is just from my experience. And people respond to the example that you set more than what you say or do, or maybe some of the books that you leave behind.
Yes.
But that's not what motivates him, I wouldn't think. At least that's not what motivates me. I feel like my soul is immortal. So what I do here on earth will go in eternity, and it will be in the memory of the people that it needs to be, and they will carry it on in their own version, in their own way, and they will pass it on that way. But that'll be my immortality as far as what I did here on earth.
Yes.
But I don't.
That's what I'm talking about.
I don't worry
Legacy
about
there.
statues or monuments or plaques or medals or who recorded what when. I don't. If that happens, great. I mean, fine. But as we see, monuments are not all that popular these days. So,
Right. Right.
maybe what I did, maybe something I would do now wouldn't be popular 200 years later. So, I'm not really worried about monuments.
It's the connection that you make. It's the example that you set. It's the warrior code. It's what you fight for and open the way for other people. Like Kimberly's joined us. Kimberly, Stephen, Kimberly. And she's got such a valiant fight in a couple different ways that she's fighting. And, so she's a warrior in her own sense for, first of all, for starting IBM TV and then, finding the right people to be on it. But she's opening a path for other people, not just like for your voice to be heard, for my voice to be heard, for Mark's voice to be heard, but for all kinds of other people across the planet. She's a warrior fighting for truth and what's right.
Right.
And her legacy, and we don't want to see anybody die, for heaven's sakes. That's not what we want to see. And we don't want to see dreams die or the warrior code die. And so dying to a certain extent, right? You can have the physical death, right? Which in my mind, when it's a physical death, you don't really die depending on the legacy that you leave. Right. And the love that you leave, the guidance, the examples. If somebody sees what you do and that spurts them and they can do something, you have you really died? But it's when you talked about it before, is when your dreams die. When you talk, or Mark, like when you talk about, I'm not going to talk to that person because, I don't know, all the excuses. That's the real death. Right. And Kimberly's not dying.
Thank you.
She's swinging.
Yeah. There are many ways a person can die, and one of them is when they give up on themselves. And that result, the most common that results in is depression.
Yeah.
You see people depressed, and I always enjoy when I see someone who's depressed, and you're talking with them and you're trying to bring them out of it, and they get angry, and be like, oh no, they're getting angry, they're getting out of control. It's like, no, that's good. It's good. Let the anger flow. Let it come out. Because now you're fighting. You're fighting against your fear. You're fighting that you're afraid. You're fighting. And if you're angry, you can't be depressed. You're not going to feel sorry for yourself. You're not going to feel bad about yourself. You're not going to feel bad about all the things that you've done. You're not going to beat yourself up. You're not going to feel you're unworthy. You're going to be angry. So as long as you're in that anger, then you're fighting and you're trying to get through, because the only way to get to the other side is through. The only way to peace and harmony and balance is through. You got to get through it. There are no, they talk about, and every single warrior I've ever talked to has some sort of spirituality to them. Mm-hmm. And people have believed this for decades, centuries. And that, they say there are no atheists in foxholes. Everybody calls on God at some point, even if it's the last thing they do, and you believe in something. You either say, Valhalla or, whatever faith that you have. But you have a spiritual faith. You believe that your soul is immortal, that you go on. And that's how, one way that a warrior with his perspective gets around and gets through the fear of death. Okay. That I am immortal. What I do here goes forever, goes in eternity. It matters. And I'm going to get out to the other side. So you put aside your fear of passing away or your life being cut short, and you surge forward, because living with fear just isn't an acceptable option. Letting the fear win is just not acceptable. Your code won't allow for it. And you continue to fight until you get through the other side, or not. But it's like you didn't live with fear and you didn't allow the fear to win. And that's really what it's all about in many other applications and everything
But
throughout the world.
let's get back to the anger concept, right?
Yeah.
And you had said that anger, you can't be depressed when you're angry.
No.
Well,
I've tried
let me bring this up though. Haven't you seen people, like if somebody's in a bad spot, right? Like we're saying somebody's depressed or
Sure.
whatever, somebody's in a bad spot and you're trying to help and you're sharing with them. Well, sometimes I've seen people get angry because they want to stay in the place they're in and they're angry that you're trying to help them. So once in a while, I have seen somebody's like, I'm here, I'm a victim. I mean, people do this all the time, and they almost get angry when you try to bring something else in. So my point is, yes, anger can really help. And I have a Claudia Ricard, she's commented already, but she's a clinical hypnotherapist, and she said anger, and she's English, I wish I could quote her, but she said anger is that what you need up your horse. You know, I can't say it like she does, but it's really funny. And she said exactly kind of what you said.
Yeah.
You need that to get you going. It's like you're to your energy flow, right? And then, okay, now you can move forward. As long as you stick with your 3 points, know thyself, your word is your sword, and never give up on the right fight, right?
Right. Well, you never give up on yourself. If you know yourself, you know your fears, you know your shadows, you know your mistakes, you acknowledge all the mistakes you've made. I would say over my lifetime that I have succeeded as much as I've failed, and I have failed as much as I've succeeded. Either way you want to say it, but it's been 50-50. But I feel like as long as I'm alive, there's always an opportunity for living and for enjoyment and for to win the day. And you just don't give up. You just don't. It's like, there's just no other option. You don't give yourself a way out that way. If you beat that in, like, your mind is programmable, as Jim Quick says in Mind Valley. I just recently went over some of his stuff about how you do your memory and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a big fan of other masters and other sages that are out there, and I'm a huge student of a lot of their stuff. Mind Valley is actually a really great app. So if anybody is looking at that, they have a wide variety of different things. But that being said, you getting angry and getting in the fight and getting into the perspective of you never give up, you just don't give yourself a way out. And that actually, what you do with that is it leaves space for the failure. Like, you're going to try, you're going to fight, you're going to say, I am going to do this, and you're going to honor your word, respect your word is your sword. You fight your way through life with your word as your wand, if you want to say, if you want to be witchy about it. But it's however you want to do it. But the warrior is the trendsetter. He's going to break through the barriers. He's going to be the first one through the wall that gets bloody. He's going to be the guy that lays down on the barbed wire and lets everybody else go over top of him. Like, in every situation, in every act or architect of life, different foundations, different things. It doesn't have to be a physical battle. That's the ones we see the most of. But my point being, you never give up doesn't leave you a way out because you fail. There have been more than one account through history, and there are many accounts that are in our present day where people have succeeded because they just never gave up.
Right.
You know, just didn't quit. They just didn't quit. They didn't give themselves a way out. They just learned from how they did it the last time, and they tried something different each time until they got what they were dreaming for, and they never gave up on the dream or the vision. There have been, I mean, I can't even think of how many different occasions where these inspirational stories about people that just didn't quit.
Yeah, no, the other day we talked about fear, and I loved what you said, right? You said, and this fits in with never give up. What's that?
What did I say?
You said, okay, now you're afraid. So what?
Oh yeah. Now what? So
yeah.
So you're afraid. All animals and human beings feel fear for something. Mm-hmm. So you're afraid. I mean, when I first started in the fire department, a confined space was a scary place for me, and I had to get used to it, and I still have to work at that. You know, I was able to work my way through that, and with the help of the guys at the fire station that just didn't let me give up. They're like, nope, we're going to go through the confined space trailer every single day until we win, until you're not freaking out anymore, until you're cool, until you're not afraid, you know, until we feel comfortable, we can trust you in a confined space, and it's all about the team, you know. So there's that, but that was one of my fears that I had to get over, and I actually wound up becoming a confined space technician. Unfortunately, I've never had to use that or drag somebody out in a live scene, but we have trained on it on several occasions, and I feel relatively confident. I actually probably need to go through. We're building a confined space at our station, and I'm looking forward to going through that and seeing where my baseline is, and see where that is for me, because it's always an uncomfortable for everybody.
Yeah, because we had talked about, you said, you know, that's why you train, right? So that at the end of your fear, that's when your training takes over. Mm-hmm. And so even in life, like if there's certain things we're afraid of, like Mark, back to your point, relationships, right? Mm-hmm. Or jobs, or speaking on a podcast, you know, whatever it is, you know, is to find either you can hopefully find a warrior that's done it before that you can share time with, that can help show you the example. But then you train your brain, you train your body, you train your spirit, right? Because you need a paradigm shift. If you're going to change something, you got to change, right? So you got to make those and not let fear lead the way to excuses or to not doing what you're there to accomplish to do. Because as you said, so many of our accomplishments are for other people, right?
Yeah. Many of the things that you say, you know, they're for others to hear and to lend. And a lot of times, I mean, we all talk to ourselves. I think at some point, it's ever been in a dark place, or just, you know, as you're thinking out loud, you know, we all talk to ourselves at some point, you know, even if it's either inside of our head or we're speaking out loud. So what we tell ourselves is the program our brain runs. And Jim Quick said that. I don't know if anybody else said that, but I got that from him, and that was brilliant. I was like, yeah, our brain's just a massive organic computer, and it just runs whatever program we tell it to.
Yes.
And if we tell ourselves excuses and fear, that's what we'll do. And that will control our instincts, that will control our hunches, that will filter through our intuition, will filter through that. And you don't want that. You don't want to have the self-doubt and the fear and all those things bogging you and weighing you down. And the only way to the other side is through. So you acknowledge that you have them in the first place, because if you're lying to yourself about it, you're never going to get there.
That's right. It's that first step.
And in shadow work, basically, they talk about shadow work, which sounds really cool. You know, oh, shadow work.
For a warrior.
Yeah, shadow work. Woo. But really, that basically is just be honest with yourself about everything about yourself, just not just the good points,
right?
Not the parts you want people to see or hear, but the things that you do in the dark places, the dark thoughts that you have, where they come from and why, the fears that you have that haunt you, the bad dreams that you get. Write them down, address them, look at them, because I guarantee everybody else knows. Everybody else can tell you're scared. Everybody else knows you're afraid. Everybody else knows those little subliminal, subconscious actions and moves that you may not even be aware of that you're doing because you're afraid. Everybody else knows. So the only person you're fooling is yourself. You're afraid. And everybody's a coward about something. Guaranteed. Yep. You know, guaranteed. Like somebody's afraid of something. You make the bravest, most amazing person you've ever met, and you think that they're just the Rambo of the world. You know, they're the Chuck Norris of everything. And I guarantee they're scared of the dentist. They don't want to go there. Or they're scared of insects because they're allergic to them. You know, or something.
Yeah.
Something that they're uncomfortable with, that they have to overcome and they have to fight through. Everybody's got it. You know, nobody's built perfect. Yeah.
Well,
Now,
I keep missing pieces of this conversation, but I do have a special question. How does one find the right warrior they need for a fight?
Well, it depends on what kind of fight you're getting into. For me, if I want to fight fire, I would get a hold of a seasoned firefighter. If I want to fight in combat, I'd get a hold of the best special forces guy I knew, and I would train for a gunfight. You know, if I wanted to fight my inner demons, I'd get a good psychiatrist, you know, or a psychologist, or I'd talk to a yoga master, or if I want to get into doing better meditation, I go to a guided meditation class and find the best guy I could find. There's a specialist for every fear. There's a specialist for every love. So find that person that is specialist, is a speciality, has become an expert in whatever fear that you're trying to fight, and do what they do, and then you'll find your own way. You'll develop your own technique, your own custom way of doing things. And then what you'll do, you'll find you'll start to track, you know, when the students are ready, the teacher will appear. So when you're ready, that person will pop up, and then you'll become the teacher, and then you will pass it on. You'll, if you want to, you know, it's all of course to you, but I find that when you teach something, you learn it twice. So when you teach something, you learn it again. And we have a saying in the fire department, it's a learn one, do one, teach one. So you learn it, and then you do it through training, and then you teach it. You pass it on, so you learn it 3 times. So it really instills it within you about how to do it, what way to do it. And many times when you're teaching something, a student will come up with a cooler, new, different way of doing something, and you learn it again. You know, so it's, you know, the teacher becomes the student becomes a teacher. So find your specialist in whatever fear it is you have. Learn from them.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm stealing your phrase. So
It's okay.
Isn't that interesting though, that he started with the fear? Figure out your fear and then find the warrior for that fear, whatever's in your way.
And the thing is that I think we all face fear, but what you talked about earlier is the people who have no fear of dying, and they've crossed over something somewhere in their life to be able to have that. And when you've reached that, or when you fear more for someone else than you do your own self, it is amazing the battle that you can win, or even the war. So, but I find it very, very interesting. You being a fireman, I mean, you've got to face, to me, that's probably the biggest fears in most things, right? Is fire. What you guys do. Where are you?
I'm in the city of Virginia Beach. I'm a federal firefighter.
Okay.
Which means that we work for the Department of Defense, and we cover the military installations around the world. So I'm at one of the installations here in Virginia Beach, and I really enjoy my job. We do quite a bit of training for our job and what we do, and it can be fearful at times, but most of the time it's pretty run-of-the-mill routine days. You know, it's car accidents and medical calls. There are the occasional fires, but we just train to be prepared so that we can be the best professionals that we can when we get there, and we do the best we can with what we have.
I know some firemen on the West Coast. I think it's a different story for them over there with the big raging fires in California most of the time.
Yeah, I do not have my red card, and and that is a whole other style of firefighting.
It is, but you do it at a federal level, and I work in the. I have another life, and I work at smart cities. And one of my inventions, I was told to start working with the federal fire departments. It's artificial intelligence. So I know, right? Is that? But you know, of course, COVID comes along, and things are kind of put on the burner. But interesting though that. that there's just so much involved. They think, you know, the guys on the West Coast, that they are a renegade of a different kind. I just, every time they go through the big storms of fires, I'm always there trying to be an open ear to listen to anything that they need, because some of them, they'll pull, you know, 5 or 6 straight weeks in the woods, and it's pretty devastating situation. Like you said, you know, people get depressed. Even the strongest warriors, even the strongest ones, the ones who look the strongest, are the ones who take the most, I think, internal beatings. They beat themselves up for losing someone. They beat themselves up for just so many things. I love the fact that you mentioned anger, because that's the fire within, and if we lose it, I think we start to die. So the fire, but that's also part of the stages of grieving, right? That's one of the stages of grieving, is to release anger. And so I too am the same way. When I start seeing somebody angry, I don't get offended. I just kind of like, okay, there it is. We got, like you, I'm like, stage 1, let's go.
Yeah. At some point somewhere inside, it's they're saying, okay, I'll fight. I don't know if I'm going to win this time, but I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm willing to fight. And when, you know, I saw a quote the other day. It said, a warrior doesn't fight to win. He fights the fights that need fighting. He fights because there's no other way but through. So you fight because it's necessary.
Yeah.
You
It's
can't.
survival.
Yeah.
Tish, if it's okay with you, I'd like to share something with y'all.
Please.
And it's gonna be very moving and very touching for me and everything. So if I start crying, just hold on and let me know, do my thing and everything. But I was actually, as y'all were talking, I was thinking about my uncle, and I was thinking about a email or a Facebook post that I got from my cousin. So I just want to share this with you because he was a warrior and he had that warrior spirit that you were talking about. Your guest was talking about. My cousin is a GBI officer. He's a Georgia Bureau of Investigation officer. His brother, who unfortunately will probably not make it to the service, is a ex-military person who is now staying in Saudi Arabia as I think it's Saudi Arabia, it might be Dubai, but he's in the Middle East as a private contractor. But I just wanted to share a little bit of this email that I got from him because I just think it's so touching, and I just want to share it with our audience here. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he says, I try to take comfort in knowing that he lived a full and good life, was the best role model who taught me so much about life, and that he was loved by many. As much as I do and will miss him, I am happy that he is where he needs and wants to be. Reunited with my mom, smiling and holding her hand once again. There were times when my mom would fuss at me, sometimes playfully and sometimes not. And she would say, you're just like your daddy. I would tell her thank you, and I hoped I was. I then tell her that if he was the kind of man that she chose to make a life with and be married to for over 50 years, then that was the kind of man I wanted to be, and that I took it as a compliment. I smiled at her. She'd stop fussing, then she would wave me off, knowing she couldn't argue those points. That man set the bar high. I kept reaching for it, and I hope one day that I can be close to being the great man that he was. And then he goes on just asking people to pray for him and everything of that nature and to pray for our family. But I mean, that to me is the epitome of a warrior spirit.
Yes.
Just to be able to say that and to share that to folks on his Facebook post. So I just wanted to share that with our IBM.TV family. And that was a message that my cousin Jonathan Spurlock sent to a lot of folks that were out there. So like I said.
Thank you, Mark.
For your
That's beautiful.
thoughts and many blessings. I will share something with you. I'm not crazy. But in 2010, I had a near fatal incident that left me. They didn't think I was going to make it. In fact, I was on the ward where you don't go home. And I survived, but I did cross over. And I saw something that left me so different. You know, I saw life beyond, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of what's over there. Do I want to leave where I'm at now? Not right now. I came back for a reason.
Yeah.
That doctor's nurse called me for months, weekly, and told me how fortunate I was and that I was left alive and had a purpose. And reminded me of this a lot. In fact, I need to send him a card and thank him. But anyway, but I think we all have a purpose.
Yes.
And I think one of the problems that we're dealing with right now, and we're all warriors in some way, right? And we're all essential, but somewhere along the line, we were told we were not. And I think that's what's causing the Great Depression that we're having. If you want to talk about a Great Depression in any lifetime, it's not the financial one that occurred. Okay, the Great Depression is the one when the whole world, every human being was told they were not essential. So really, if you think about 97% of the people on this earth, well, in the United States anyway, we're told you're not essential. We're going to continue doing it as we do every day, but and that was the wrong message to send. And I think that is what has caused so many warriors to feel so deflated, but also just so many humans in themselves. And I would like to hopefully change this, because I'm tired of getting the phone calls that somebody's committed to suicide. I'm glad that my phone's been ringing for people that say they need help. I get a lot of texts, and Kit and I, we go, hey, we're just here. Don't feel like you're alone. And oddly enough, people do reach out. But I don't think it's enough. There's a part of me that just says there's more that we're doing a lot. And my God, you're doing a lot. I mean, it's just, but I just feel like we got to break a door down somewhere. I feel like that we're gonna suffocate. Mm-hmm. That the fire's there and it's suffocating us. It's not a lot. We're gonna have to bust that door down or that wall, because it's just it's suffocating too many people. And I didn't mean to bring it down here. What I did want to share is that, hey, Mark, I saw what's on the other side. It was pretty fantabulous. So, but it's not, I don't know, maybe it's different for everyone, right? But I thought it was pretty cool. So, anyway, there's, for the warriors who have no fear of death, that maybe some of them have seen the other side. And maybe some of them just believe enough that they don't worry about it. And then you got those that are just more like me. Well, I've seen the other side, but this is me. All right. So get me angry enough, I stuck my teeth into something. But let me tell you about this little dog. Okay, I was going through a really, really tough time. My mom and dad used to come. They're both in heaven right now, but they used to call me the pit bull with lipstick. Right? There's just when you can't. That's it. You're done. And I pack everything out with facts. As an engineer, that's who I am. But anyway, when I was going through the tough time. And sitting in the dining room, I saw like this black bird, big shadow. You could almost feel it land on the porch. Oh, wow, what is that? And I mean, I could just see the shadow more than I could the bird. And so I went out there, and this is what was there.
You're kidding.
I don't have kids anymore. My kids are gone. So this is what was.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's totally wild.
So is that it was on the bench.
Yeah.
There. And we out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's not like somebody just walked up. So I have a message.
Well, it's we'll have to table the what's really out there and what everything controls, how things control the third dimension and our energies and how they pass through and all that kind of stuff. We'll have to get into a discussion like that, I think, another time. That we could do that for 8 hours.
Oh, I know. I would love to, because I love to talk to people who know that this exists out there. A lot of times you could be considered kind of crazy in some of the groups, and I'm from an engineering world, but no, I just. That was a sense of, wow, okay, somebody is there, somebody telling me to hang in there, Yes. So you've got to not let that fire die and continue on. But sometimes it's hard, especially when you feel alone.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
It wouldn't be a fight if it was hard, if it was easy.
No, that's true.
That's not fair.
It's a fight because it's hard. It's supposed to be, and the hard is what makes it great.
Yeah,
Yep,
I guess so.
That's
You know,
a warrior for you.
Jimmy Valvano was my icon, and he would always say, "You were saying it earlier. Don't give up." That was him, and I've got a speech. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. And
sometimes we give up on ourselves in small ways, and we don't even know it.
Right.
So say we have a habit we want to break, and we're late to work all the time, and we're late to work too much. Well, the winning, the winning, getting up in the morning and getting to work on time starts when you get home from the day of work.
Right.
So you set yourself up for the win. You do your laundry, you fold your uniform or your clothes, or you set out what you're going to wear the next day, and you stick to that. You take a shower before you go to bed, so that you get up and you don't hit the snooze bar 3 times. You set the coffee and you make the coffee the night before. That way it's automatically made. When you come down, you smell the coffee, you wake up. You give yourself as much armor and as much weapons as you can for whatever you need. And that starts with preparation, because you won't allow yourself to start giving yourself excuses, so you can have small failures that equal big failures. And if you're always showing up late to work, or you're bell tapping every single time, that'll just continue to snowball into whatever it is that you have in your life that you don't want, because you don't feel like you're worthy to get up in the morning, and you don't feel like you're worthy of your job, and you're worthy of your life, and you're worthy of everything. And you have all these little tiny failures that just add up. So you start making small choices to win small battles that win the war. It's the little things. A lot of times when you look back at full-scale wars, for examples, in like World War I, World War II, different ones like that I've seen, there's moments where in every battle where you win or you lose, and you have to know how to look for it, what to look for, and how to wait for it. You have to be patient enough to, there's a moment in every single battle, every tiny little battle that's happening everywhere.
Now,
or you lose, and then you have to start over or never give up. Just keep pushing forward.
And I think one battle that we all, sometimes don't realize how important it is I've got to throw this in here, is the battle of our health, right? Like we talk about making little decisions and little things. If we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't feed ourselves the food that's right, if we don't give ourselves the water, if we don't get the rest, if we don't take care of ourselves, we cannot, first of all, go through our 3 steps, right? Know thyself. If you're unhealthy, do you have the ability to know yourself at that point? Because you're not seeing clearly, right? So we've got to start. The first battle is to make ourselves as healthy as we can possibly be, right? Physically, mentally, spiritually.
And building that foundation is about being consistent.
Yes.
It's like working out for 20 minutes once a month doesn't get it done, but working out for 20 minutes every single day or every other day consistently is what gets it done. Eating a good breakfast every day, fasting when we should, using a diet that works for your blood type and for who you are. Like one diet for one person is not going to work for another. Like you have 2 people that eat vegan diets, and one looks really unhealthy and the other one looks spry as can be. It's because that diet doesn't work for the one person, it does for the other. So you're a custom build. You got to honor yourself and who you are, and different stages of life, and take your belief system out. Yeah, my biggest thing is to leave you with is take your belief system out for a beating every once in a while.
Yeah.
Why do I believe?
I love that.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Did this belief come from within? Did this belief come from me, or did it come from my conditioning? Did it come from my environment? Did it come to? If the answer is, oh well, this is the way it's always been, that is the worst answer I've ever heard.
Well, Stephen, I gotta say, at least my teenager has taken my beliefs for a beating for the last, 6 years, 7 years. Everything that comes out of my mouth, he's like, I don't think so. And there's all kind. And one way though, I'm so grateful for it. I mean, some of it was just like with wine. He was 8 years old, and I'm like, that Chianti comes from Italy. I don't think so. I don't think so. But anyway, so, it's so humbling,
Yeah.
right? It's one thing when you take your beliefs out for a beating, like when you're like, I've always thought that, let me think about that, blah, blah, blah. It's another thing when, especially, I want to say your offspring is like, so anyway, I found that teenagers are really good for taking your beliefs out for a beating.
Oh, they do that forever.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And they don't start at teenagers. I started getting that from my nephews who are preteens. They're about to be 11
Yep.
and 12 in August. So I think they started taking beliefs out for a beating sometime back. It might have been when they were like 1 or maybe even like more, because they've definitely done that
That's
for
right.
a while.
But Stephen's point is so valid, right? Because then it makes us, no matter if it's yourself, your teenager, whoever, somebody from a different culture that totally doesn't, it makes you wonder, did this come from my soul? Is this from me? Is this my truth? Or is this what somebody fed me and I swallowed and now I'm regurgitating? I mean, sorry for that crude language, but that's exactly, I think, what we're talking about here, right?
Yes. And you have to, who you are. And our environment has a great deal to do with our conditioning and what we've been taught, what society we grow up in, our religious beliefs, things like that will all have a bearing, and we're all susceptible to that. So it's important as we grow, as we learn new things, as we add other things in and take things away, that we're aware of old belief systems that may not serve us anymore.
Right.
And that's hard to do. And a lot of times we may lose friends, or we may lose different groups of people because our belief systems have now changed, and we have to honor our new code, and they may not match up anymore. And the thing is, we want to always be accepting of whoever we have in our life and not push people away. But we'll find that as you change, that other people will push you away instead. And that's just, you have to be willing to let that go. There's always that. And I think I've seen a lot of people say that, a lot of people do that. So I think a lot of people are growing at a rapid rate. And they're finding new ways, new pathways.
Stephen, real quickly, I have just a quick question I wanted to ask you real quick that just popped into my head, and then I was going to make a comment. The comment is that one of my favorite books is Raisin in the Sun, well, book play actually, but it's about the dream deferred and things of that nature. But sometimes we have different issues that come up, different political issues, different social issues that you may have a belief on, and that other people may not have that same belief. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, we saw it here in North Carolina with certain issues around bathrooms and things of that nature. We've seen it around other kinds of issues. Even Black Lives Matter, some people would say is something similar. But what do you think to those that, whether it's on social media or whether it's whatever, because they have a strong belief in something, they start pushing the folks away that don't share the same belief? Do you think that is kind of the warrior code, or is that against the warrior code? What is your own personal opinion on that?
I don't know if it's warrior or not warrior. I think every person has to stick to their guns about what they believe in at that time. And that may change later on for them, and they have to be open to that. But that's up to each individual person. If they don't want to be around people that make them feel uncomfortable at that time, then that is their choice.
Right.
That is their free will choice as the human being that they are. And my personal belief is every single person has the right to breathe free.
Right.
So, and I don't take a side on any of that, but if someone is comfortable with who they are,
right,
and comfortable with their belief system and is secure with who they are, and someone else doesn't believe the same way that they do, you have to be ready for that. You have to be comfortable for that. The strongest warrior is the one that stays the calmest.
Right.
The strongest warrior is the one that's balanced from within and can accept other people being different than them in their environment and still be okay with who they are.
Yeah.
That's the strongest guy in the room. That's the strongest warrior in the room. Is the one that is aware, can observe, and be okay with who they are, and not judge others for being in different places, in different balances, and different harmonies. That's okay that they are. And I have a little saying that I kind of tell myself to keep myself from being so judgmental. And I say, well, that's just where they're at. If I see somebody that doesn't agree with me or something that does something that I don't necessarily agree with, like, well, that's where they're at. That's who they are
A good
right now.
point. That's a very good point in the turmoils that we're challenged with today, especially politically. I've never had such a divide in my life to see
Right.
so many people in such a divide. But it's interesting that you would say that's just kind of where we, each person is, because, and you have to be willing sometimes to change. This is something else. When you grow, you do change, and your ideas change. The way I thought 20 years ago is so different than the way I think today. My values didn't change.
Yeah.
The way I would perceive things has definitely changed. Good point. Very good point.
It's sometimes if you disagree with someone about something, you'll find they'll come around, or you will. Or you will.
Do exactly. I was going to say that's a good one. It's better usually, but no, that's a good point. That usually somewhere there is that median, but always stand on your convictions, as you were saying. That it's just very important. I have this saying it got me through a lot of tough younger years, and it was keep your standards high, but lower your expectations a little bit. And usually you're not as disappointed. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't expect things to be great, but just lower what your expectations are, as opposed to expecting everybody to maybe do and like everything at the same level you do, or be as excited or work as hard as you do to get there. Just kind of lower that a little bit. Big difference.
So, yeah, and that is a first step in a long line of finding some inner peace. I find that if I set an intention about what I would like to happen, it's a much more flexible and fluid concept, and that having an expectation seems to be more detailed and more specific, and you let go of the details and how specific it has to be, and then just say, I would like everybody to work together fluidly as a team and us move forward in a more powerful and efficient way. However that pans out is great. It doesn't matter if they do it exactly how you do it. It doesn't matter if everybody does an Excel spreadsheet and it's perfect and color-coded the way you like it. And if you don't get it that way, then it's not efficient. Not necessarily. But you just wanted the team to be more efficient and work fluidly in the same direction. And that's it. That's all you needed. You set that intention. You don't let go of that vision, that dream that happens. And you allow people to be free to do what they do that makes the whole team together efficient and to do their part. And then they don't feel, dominated. They don't feel oppressed. They don't feel like their voice isn't being heard. They're able to work with you, and you're allowing that space.
But it also brings up what you said before, and that is they may have a great idea of how to get it accomplished. There's that part of it that people might have a great ideas and contributions, but then there's the other part that we're all different, right? So when we're all given a goal, chances are we're not all going to go about it the same way. And that's okay. And that's part of what the beauty of our world is. And we're going to go to global citizenship, right? We don't all do it the same, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Citizenship.
Like I don't want everything the same. That just sounds awful.
Boring, huh?
I mean, that would be very boring life. It seems to me that to some degree we probably need to have the same kind of life that you have when you're doing firefighting. Because as far as I'm concerned, the fire knows no color, it knows no race, it knows no religion. All it knows is the path that it's on. So, and that's the path that y'all are trying to rescue people from. So, like I said, if that fire is blazing, it doesn't know the difference between, I would even say, a cat and a human. It just knows that it's on that mission to get that thing destroyed, whatever it's going to do.
Point, Mark.
And y'all are trying to control it.
The fire eats.
Right.
It consumes, it eats, it burns. Scientifically, it's just rapid oxidation of just everything around you. So it's obviously very dangerous, but necessary in our world, apparently. And of course, we have a balance for it. But no one fire person ever works alone. No one firefighter ever works alone. He always has a team. We have several rules, like 2 in, 2 out rules and things like that. No one person ever is going in alone by themselves, and we are only as strong as we are together. So I work with a bunch of great guys, that we all work together despite our differences and anything like that we have, and we get the job done. And
How has COVID changed your?
have the job.
How has COVID changed your landscape?
COVID is just added more protocols. We have more and different, or not really more so much as different ones. We've brought on some different things that help us deal with it. We're more conscious of sanitation. We're more conscious of sanitizing everything. Not that we weren't doing it before, but now we're extra vigilant with that. When you go in the hospital, we're putting masks on the patients as well before they go into the hospital, as long as it doesn't incur with their breathing. For us, we're wearing a N95 mask for my department, and we're able to operate. Fortunately, we have all the PPE that we need that's necessary. We have gowns and Tyvek suits if necessary that we can wear that are in a protocol. We wear gloves, obviously, as we always did. We wear masks to protect ourselves, but also the patients. And the command always reports down to us, and our department reports down to us if anybody we've come into contact with anybody that wound up being tested positive for COVID. And then, of course, there's testing that's available. But yeah, that's changed the landscape for us. We do temperature checks in the morning. So guys wear masks around the stations, and things like that. So we're all taking precautions as best we can.
It's interesting.
Keep ourselves safe, but us guys, we live in such close proximity to one another in the station. Fortunately, no one at my station has been tested positive for it. We've been very safe. We've been very lucky. So we're going to continue the fight and continue working hard. And we're hoping that we can make a difference daily whenever we can. And
have you seen a lot of COVID cases? How does that work?
Not me personally. No,
Okay.
there has not been a lot. There has been some people with symptoms, but it came back that they weren't positive for the testing or didn't get the test. So as far as I know, I haven't come into personal contact with anyone that's had it. We have heard reports that others, other stations, other places have gotten it. That some other local municipality fire departments have had some fire departments with it and have done the quarantine. As far as I know, I personally haven't, known anybody that has passed away from it.
Okay.
Personally, and I don't know any firefighters that have died or passed away from it as of yet.
Right.
I know of. Now there may be, but I don't know. So fortunately, everybody's been very safe. We've been very protected here, and we've been taking the proper precautions. So we're just hoping that everybody stays as healthy as possible. This blows over, and we can all move forward with a new normal with how we're going to deliver lives. Because I don't think we can ever go back. I think it's inaccurate to say, "Oh, I hope we get back to where it was." I don't think that's ever going to be possible. We're going to go back to anything.
We've had a lot of fabtabulous, interesting people from all over the world on IBM TV Global News when we first launched on March 7th, when COVID hit. And it was interesting because we brought this up. Would people be able to maintain this? One of the doctors said, Kim, as soon as this is over, people are going to go right back the way it was. And sometimes I think he's right. But I think if we had only had 30 days of this, he'd be right.
Yeah.
But I think we've been kind of locked into our room, basically.
Yes. Time out.
For so long that the impact is going to be way different. The way people think, not maybe months from now, but maybe years from now, because you're still going to have adults older that are going to be in fear for themselves, and then you're going to have people in fear for their children. So I don't, the mentality state is going to be different. The new norm, I don't know what it's going to be, but I find it interesting because we're all curious, right? What's it going to be like? But we got through AIDS, which to me was probably one of the most horrific, devastating viruses in my lifetime. This one's bad, But the difference is this one just spreads like fire. And we didn't contain it properly, right? We did not take to me, the proper protocols to contain it in the beginning. So we're just having to do it now. But AIDS is, such a horrific disease that they never found a cure for. Well, what they did was find solutions, right? Just this is how you live amongst it. And then when you have the facts, you reduce the fear. And then, it took about 10 years before people could say, hey, I have AIDS, and nobody go, you accepted them and loved them. And so I think it's just going to take time. We were talking about that today too, about once you've had COVID, because we've got a few doctors, they're in the cesspool of COVID. And so they've already had it. And so one talked about it being very, very painful, but it recovered well. They all talk about a good immune system helps. But, it's not going to be something, it's not going to be something that we get and we've got the immunity against it because there's too many strains. So we're going to have to become comfortable, I think, with being a warrior of saying, you know what, I'm going to have to probably get it one day. But do I have the immunity to handle it? And I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Immunity is key. In so many ways. And the good news is there's so many great folks out there with so much information, from our guts, how important our gut is, to the foods that we eat, and the whole bit. So I really think that, and again, hopefully that's part of what our timeout is doing, is giving us a chance to reset our beliefs about ourselves and our health, right? It doesn't come from a pill, right?
No. But what it has done, well, I've always eaten healthy anyway, but it's made me think twice about that Snicker ice cream, or, things like that, because you can quickly put on what I call the COVID-19. Yeah. But, it has, like you said, made me think twice about when I go somewhere. I don't touch anything anymore. I keep my hands together. I sanitize probably more than I should. But, there's just these kind of things. Is this the way our life is going to be? And are we going to adapt to it? And, countries like Japan do very well. I worked with the Japanese for 5 or 6 years, been still part of my life. They have such great discipline in this as a warrior for something like this, right? They snap to attention immediately. Boom, this is what we have to do. This is the way life is. And I studied Taekwondo for several years, and the disciplines that are required, especially spiritually, right? So I understand, the adapt and overcome. A lot of people don't. When you talk about the firemen being such a great team, the reason why you pull together as a great team is you have a common demon. And that's why, because you're a battle against a common demon, and that's why you even your differences, all differences are set aside when you have a common demon. Unfortunately, it seems like the U.S., this demon is not big enough. Everybody's kind of divided right now. I kind of like it if we'd be united, but because I think when we pull together, we will overcome this. But
well, that's one of the first rules, is divide and conquer, right? And so that the powers, the negative folks out there that are trying to get control, that are working out of fear, right? That are trying to control us. They keep us divided, whether it's sports teams, whether it's religion, whether it's the color of the flag, whatever it is. You stand, you sit, whatever. Divide us, and then you can, eat away at us, bring up our fears, bring up all this other stuff. Now we're fighting ourselves. Like, I got to say, years ago, The Walking Dead was so popular, right? The Walking Dead, everybody loves zombies, right? Well, I tried to watch it. I'm not that big of a current TV people, but I'm like, oh, it's all over. I got to watch it. I got to see what's up, right? So at least I could conversate in conversations with people, right? That small talk thing. But so I watched it, and the first time, I only watched one episode, but what was happening was that the people were fighting themselves. So by the time the zombies got to the people, they were out of ammo. Half the people were dead. Most of them were hurt. And you only had like 1 or 2 people that could actually fight the zombies. So then just come on in and take over. What in the world? I feel like, not to get too passionate here, but I feel like that's part of what we're doing. And that we've turned into the friggin' Walking Dead. You know what I mean? Because they have split us. They have divided us. We're fighting ourselves. Just open up Facebook. My God, bam, 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 bam.
You know what? And the weirdest thing is my Instagram that I dearly love. I like Instagram better than Facebook because there never seems to be any hate on Instagram ever. So I dearly, dearly love my Instagram for posting and catching up with family as opposed to Facebook. And somebody hacked it. And it's gone down. I have an impersonator who's stealing. I mean, so I got Instagram. Hopefully I can get the feds on it and the Instagram on it and take care of it because they've just taken away to me, you know, but you're right. You know, there's this, I felt the same way. Like, I'm like, are we at the zombie point? I never liked zombie movies, but you know, like, you know, we're at that thing. But this is what I said the other day. you give an American a gun and tell him to go shoot and kill somebody. Oh, heck yeah. You know, I'm going to defend my country. You ask them to wear a simple mask.
Right.
You'd think you were asking them to shoot themselves. I mean, come on, people. How difficult? I mean, it's just a mask. This is what I tell people. It's just a freaking mask. And if I can wear one, you know, because I have this claustrophobic thing. And this is what I did. As soon as I heard that the mask could save somebody else, because everybody says, Kim, you're always wearing it blue side out. And I go, because I care about other people. As soon as I heard that the mask was it, every day I would put it on my face for 5, maybe 10 minutes until I could build up and wear it for long lengths of time. You just have to build up. You know, it wasn't, and I'm not going to say it was a fear thing. It's just something happened to me one time. And so having something that close to me just never, and I never had to do it before. So why worry, right? So as soon as I the first time I put it on there, oh, this is difficult, I put it down. But I didn't say I'm not going to, or it's too difficult. What I said was, is if the doctor could wear it for 8 hours under surgery with me, then so can I. Right? That's what I kept telling myself. So, you know, but I'm sitting here and I go, come on, people, why are we, what's it
so hard?
You know, I care enough about other people that if I'm accidentally carrying this thing, I don't want to give it to anybody else. You know?
But you know, Kimberly, it's not just it is about the virus, but there's another part of it to me about wearing a mask. Like I was a little bit, I hate to admit it, but I'll admit it. In the very beginning, I was like, wear a mask. But then I started realizing that when I didn't wear a mask and I walked by people, their eyes would get big and they'd kind of shirk away from me. Isn't everybody already stressed enough? So if I can wear a mask and get you to calm down and be comfortable, we see each other smiling underneath our masks and we go on our day, then, you know, I feel like that's helping, because the last thing we want to do is make people more stressed out right now, because again, that's just fighting ourselves. So
I just do it out of respect for other people. My thing isn't about me. Okay, so if I walk in and I don't see somebody wearing a mask, I might be going, wow, okay, whatever. But I'm more worried about, did I leave behind something that could hurt somebody? And I have to say, I hate saying this. Now I find myself kind of judging people about it. Like, they don't really care about other people. And I shouldn't be doing that. But I don't get angry at them. I don't get mad. I'm not yelling. I'm not in a fight with them. I get in, do whatever I have to do at the grocery store and get home. I mean, fortunately, I live out in the freaking middle of nowhere. So, you know, I just don't worry about it too much. There's a school next door that's been shut down for a long time. So I go over there to do my track work. And there's a school across the street. So nobody's coming near me for miles. And I don't worry about it because of that. And, but at the end of the day, you know, I do find myself when I go into the grocery store, which I dearly love the little country grocery store down the road, because they're all so conscientious about everybody. And I do find myself, because they all wear their mask and their helmet PPP.
Oh, wow.
Right, they do. And
Nice.
they actually, one employee stands outside and wipes all the carts down before you take it, right? They've got an employee right at the cart stand. And because the guy, I think, well, I've always believed that our manager up there is a little OCD. So I've always thought it's kind of cute, right? So he probably would have done this anyway. So, but anyway, so when I go in, I do find myself judging these people, and I really shouldn't, right? Like, I tell myself, what if they didn't have a mask? Should I carry extra and hand them out? Well, no, because I've been touching it. And maybe I'll put them in Ziploc bags and hand them out. No, that's not my job. So again, you got to get back to worrying about yourself, right? And then my belief is
we're probably all guilty of that. I know that I was here in near the Deuce campus, and I saw a young lady probably around in her early 20s or something, and she wasn't wearing the mask. And that was the first thought that went through my head was, why isn't she wearing the mask? What makes her so special? Why isn't she wearing that mask? She should be wearing the mask as well. And then I got on the bus and I saw her coming back, and so I don't know, maybe she went to her destination and they sent her back home, but I don't know what the backstory is, but I did see that she had gone somewhere and was heading back when I got on the bus and everything. So I do think that we do have that habit of judging folks. Yeah. By the way, Stephen, I got a quick question for you as well, because I saw that they've been getting into this great conversation, and it was a great one that they were having. But I think, Stephen, that we have discovered, because I'm a big fan of certain things in culture and TV shows, I think we've discovered Xena and Gabrielle. So if you follow Xena, Warrior Princess, I think that Tish is playing the role of Xena, and Kim is over there playing the role of Gabrielle. So I think we discovered Xena, Warrior Princess.
We're there, man.
We discovered that character here. They're definitely they've got that warrior spirit for sure. But one of the things that I think firefighters forget, or people forget about the role of firefighters, and this is one of the questions I was going to ask you, is I'm going to do some things in event planning. And a lot of times, and it comes back to what Kimberly was talking about, the firefighters oftentimes are the ones that are in charge a lot with crowd control and things of that nature. So I was curious, what do you think the future is of big events and things of that nature? Because I'm thinking that we probably won't have them until 2022, maybe 2023, if we're lucky. But I do know that the firefighters are oftentimes in control of crowd control, and sometimes organizations don't follow what they should do. I know there was that big, I believe it was a nightclub in Las Vegas or something like that, that they had the big fire, and there was a raging control, and they later found out that they had not done what they should have done in terms of having the right amount of doors and exits and things of that nature. And I think it was in Las Vegas. I could have the state or the city wrong.
So what was the question?
What was the question?
The question was, how do you think we're going to do in terms of crowds and things of that nature, in terms of crowd control, now that we're in the new age of COVID and what's going on? Because firefighters often play an important role with that.
That really drops in with inspections. The inspector will come beforehand. Our job is more pregame, in that they run over the pre-plans. We firefighters ourselves go over pre-plans of certain big commercial buildings in our area, and we'll have plans already set up for certain buildings that are high risk or high occupancy, or high rises and things like that in an area, and we'll train occasionally on those things, either monthly, quarterly, or yearly, depending on the department and depending on what the risk is and how they choose to validate resources to it. But mostly, as far as a general rule, I find that fire departments, for inspecting, and they go through and make sure all the doors work, all the alarms work, everything's working in proper order, the detectors work properly. They're sensing, they sync, the signal goes to the dispatch center. Dispatch center is able to get to us, and we test and tone those things to make sure that they work properly. And that's kind of our part. And as a general rule, I can't speak for other departments, other parts of the world, other parts of the United States, and what cities and townships do for theirs. But as far as for us, we do a lot of pregame as far as handling large crowds. We make sure that the building is viable, and it alerts the people when it needs to, so that we can show up if something goes wrong. As far as crowd control, our department does not deal with crowd control. We actually call in, if we have a large crowd during an emergency, or we need help with traffic control, the police or the base security will help with that, and help us with all that kind of stuff. So,
with
we
some of
don't
what
engage
you
directly
do,
with that.
I work with NCS4, which is down in Mississippi, an organization that does the standards for safety and security for all of the stadiums and buildings in the world, for all of them, all of the football, baseball, hockey, everything. Is all the safety and security standards, including for fire, are done down there in a little building inside of University of Southern Miss. It was appointed by the president after 9/11 hit, and a lot of people aren't aware of it. So if you're not aware of it, I'll gladly introduce you to it, because it's some interesting things that happen in there. But yeah, like I said, not many people are aware of it. It's a hidden gem. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about it, but they've been kind of coming out and having conferences and everything, but they're very limited to who's allowed to come in. But I just think that we're going to see a change, in particular the way the games are going to be handled at the stadiums and things like that. That it's not going to be as crazy open. Like I was fortunate enough to be at the Super Bowl this year.
Wow.
And, yeah, I got to hold the trophy. I got to hold the trophy. I know.
Wow.
It's crazy, right? So, but anyway, aside from all of that, I don't think we're ever going to see that kind of chaos again, ever. Not in my lifetime, anyway. The way everybody was getting together for different parties and meetings and conferences, you would not believe how many big business meetings there are down there around the Super Bowl. Just huge corporate level meetings.
Well, they call them business meetings so they can write it off, Kimberly. Come on.
Now, so I'm dealing with the IRS long enough to know you don't get away with that very often. But yeah, there is some of that. Yeah, I'm down here at the Super Bowl. I'm actually one who forego the tickets at the stadium to fly back home and on Super Bowl day, just to be home in time to be around the family and friends. But
that's awesome.
But I got to see the chaos. Right, I was there for a whole week, maybe 7 days, but I don't think we're ever going to see that again. In the stadium life, I think what's going to happen is technology is going to play a big part in this. But you're going to see, like right now, they're doing the games, so people virtual, and I think eventually you're going to have a camera in each seat, and you could buy a camera for that seat, like you bought a seat, right? And you put on your virtual glasses. I've already invented this. I invented this the other day. You stay at home and you put on your virtual glasses and you're in your seat now, right? And so you can see everything straight from that seat in the stadium to the field, and everybody. And I'm still trying to build in the hot dog and beer smell, but
that's so disappointing, though, to tell you the truth, because as an energy worker, the amount of energy that is at those type events, like going to sporting events or music, live music, the feeling that you get from that, and not just the musicians and not just the music or the sports and the athletes, but the people you're around, right? All of that energy. And the fact that we may not have that. Now, this is, apparently I'm going to have to beat my social construct here, because I'm used to those being big times, but so what is that going to look like? Is that just going to be a smaller event, like you said, Kimberly, where, you don't get to be around, 20,000 people that you've never met and have conversations with all these people?
Unfortunately, I think unfortunately, I think we are going to see smaller events, Tish, and I think we've been going in that direction for a while. But I'm like you. I regret that. Like I said, I know the Eno this year was a virtual event, but I usually would be at the Eno, but it was a virtual event this year. And I'm hoping it will go live again in another year or two. But I'm also somewhat pessimistic that the fact that we may wind up having this virtual version for a while. So I'm afraid of that. And I know the Blues Festival used to be outside in a the old Bull Durham ballpark, and it had
Yep.
moved to the Hayti Center, which was a lovely venue, but it's much smaller. So, I mean, I've seen what happens when it goes from a big venue to a smaller venue, and I think that that's going to be the push because of people's health concerns, and I get that. But I'm with you. I definitely enjoy the feel of the concerts. And coming back to what we were talking about, the warrior spirit, I definitely have felt that warrior spirit because Kim was teasing me on Facebook about my vibrant conversation and things of that nature. But one of the things that happens with my vibrant conversation is I didn't always have it. And I would go sometimes to the blues festival or any of the things that I have announced, and I would definitely have some serious fear before I stepped on that stage. But as soon as I hit that stage, it all went out, and I would get on that turn it on kind of mentality. So I think that that's what happens with warriors is you get that moment where you just kind of like you turn off all the negative, you turn off all your fears, you turn off all your worries, and you just go for it. And and then I might do some self-criticism afterwards because not everybody sees all the stuff that goes on behind the stage or behind the scenes. So there are things that would happen that I would not necessarily like that I did, but I might do some self-criticism. So I've seen all the sides of that warrior spirit just in that announcement. But one of the questions I want to ask Stephen is, what is a moment that you had as a warrior? I want to know like a warrior moment that you had as a firefighter, because I'm sure you've had many. So I would love to hear some of your warrior stories as a firefighter.
I don't know about that.
Come on, you can share one.
I got an easier question. What's the hat?
What's that?
What's your hat?
It's a hat I picked up when I was in Yellowstone. Back in 2018, I went up to Montana.
Oh wow!
And I got to spend some time with some friends, and got to spend some time in Ennis and Bozeman. And if they ever listen to this podcast, I'm saying hi to you guys right now. And, Stephanie and her family and her new husband.
Aww.
And just saying hi to all them. So. But I love Bozeman, Montana. It was wonderful, great bunch of people there. Everybody was very welcoming, and probably the most beautiful views I've ever seen in my life. And I've been to several countries, and I've had to travel. I've had the opportunity to travel around the world, both with the Navy and as a civilian. And the Montana is just unbelievable. Yellowstone is untouched as much as it possibly can be, I think, in the United States anyway, in North America. And if you ever get an opportunity to go, you won't be disappointed. Recommend you go in September. September's a nice time. It actually snowed when I was there.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, it would be 70 during the day and 35 at night.
Oh, wow.
They don't it's beautiful, but it is right on the Canadian border, and they are not playing around up there as far as the weather is concerned and the cold. It is a dry cold. It is dry weather there, which I actually enjoyed more. I noticed that I had no real allergy problems like I do here in the East Coast. I had no problems there at all. With any of my allergies, and there's a lot of great wildlife there. You're definitely in sync. You're coexisting with the wildlife there. They have definitely found a nice balance. One thing I do actually enjoy about the state of Montana, and I don't know if it's changed yet, but you can't have water rights anywhere you go in Montana. The water belongs to everyone. So say you own 100 acres and you have 4 ponds, 2 lakes, and a river that runs through it. Anybody can use that river, that lake, that pond. You do not own it. And so no one has a right to that water. You can't exclude people you can't buy a plot of land that has a lake on it and then say no one can swim in it. Everybody gets the opportunity to fish or swim in it as long as it's within state law. So I think that's kind of a great thing.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that when I found that out about the state of Montana, that they promote their freedom there as much as possible. And I didn't meet one cross person while I was there. I was only there 6 days, so maybe I just needed to stay longer. But I didn't meet one cross person. Everybody was very down to earth, very cool. I really liked it.
That's got to be on my bucket list. So I'll definitely have to go check this out. I mean, I've traveled all over the country, and I I really think I've been everywhere, but I really don't think if I've been there, I've got to stay long enough to enjoy it. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll put that on my list. It sounds lovely. You know, I went to Utah 2 years ago. God, it's been 2 years. And I kind of got stuck there for a lot longer than I expected. And it was very, very cold, and I didn't have all the winter clothing I had, you know, but the snow up to my head. But it was very beautiful. Oh my gosh. And people I think people in that weather, I think they drink a lot anyway. But like you said, everybody was just happy. I mean, I met people I never knew before. I just like met them for the first time ever and had long conversations. Next thing I know, I'm invited to the lodge to have dinner. And next thing I know, I'm in there cooking with them, this whole big group of people. And because it was the Sundance Festival. And I'm like, I don't understand.
That's awesome.
Call it the Sundance Festival when it's freezing up here, but on the snow up to here, and don't see the sun very often, but it's called the Sundance Festival. And that was cool. I ended up going there by accident. I was there for a salt tank. They called it the salt tank. It's a shark tank. And I was there as a favor to someone. He goes, hey, by the way, you want to stay and go to the Sundance? I got some tickets. And I go, oh, sure, why not? Well, they never showed up. I had my ticket. So I'm just kind of wandering around. I go, hi, I'm Kim Calhoun with Money Masters and IBM TV. I was supposed to meet someone, and the minute they go, oh, you're here. Oh my God. And they dragged me down to the basement of this place and introduced me to this big producer. He thinks I'm there to interview him. I don't have my crew with me. It ended up being,
crazy.
What was funny is we got to talking, and he realized, but we just ended up becoming good friends after that. And, it was kind of fun, but yeah, I would love to see Montana. Now that I realized it, I've really never seen it. So
it's a big sky country. I think the saving grace for Montana, that how people actually get through the wintertime, is there's a lot of hot springs, a lot of natural hot springs there that are beautiful, gorgeous. They feel great. A lot of great breweries there. I gotta say, I enjoyed that while I was there in 2018. Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, I actually considered moving out there for a while, and I still haven't checked that off the bucket list. I think eventually I will live there at some point in my life, but the winters are extremely harsh there. And they spend months at a time below zero.
Yep.
To the point that most of the piping and water systems they have, they set it up in zones, and they run antifreeze through the pipes that they're not using at that time.
Wow.
And things like that. So they take proper precautions, and they've learned how to fight it. But the winters are harsh, and I've never been out there for a Montana winter, so that might change my mind. If I spend a winter there, I'd be like,
Right.
You might want to check out that winter before you decide to move there. That might be the move, like Kim said. And by the way, Tish, Kim's being modest because the producer she's talking about is also part of the IBM family and pops into our conversations on a pretty regular basis.
Nice.
So he's part of the IBM family and does some great things. I actually went to Nevada for the first time about a year and a half ago. What I found out about Nevada, other than the fact because I was in Las Vegas visiting a friend, and there's way too much gambling going on there, and way too much and lights and all of that. But the other thing that folks forget about Las Vegas is that it has got to be one of the dustiest states in the nation, because there is so much dust that it just flies into people's houses and apartments and things of that nature. So that took a while getting adjusted to. Like I said, it was definitely a dusty town.
I'm not crazy about Vegas. I did have to work in Minneapolis and St. Paul for several months, and unfortunately it was in the winter. But I got a good taste of a harsh winter, and I learned how to walk through tunnels to get to places. You learn how to become a underground person. It was quite interesting. But I lost a lot of weight when I was up there. You would think, you would eat more to stay warm, that kind of thing. But I think it was because I was walking around so much, and I ice skated every day for 2 hours. So
Oh, that'll do it.
you can't do that in North Carolina. So so I spent about 2 hours a day. I would get off of work and grab my skates and go skate. So which was nice. I almost hated leaving Minnesota when I had to leave, but you learn.
Tish, I hate to put on my producer hat, and I could get vetoed because him.
But yeah, that's why I'm sitting here looking at the clock going, I'm like,
he's the big boss.
Okay.
He's the big boss. So I hate to put on my producer hat, so I'm going to put on my producer hat right now and say that we need to wind down. But I don't want to wind down without everybody getting a chance to have their closing thoughts, unless I get vetoed by the big boss. Kim might be like, no, y'all can have a 4-hour show for all I care. But
I don't care.
I do want to put on the producer hat and let on us wind down. But before we wind down, I definitely wanted you to say any final thoughts that you've got. And of course, we definitely got to have some final thoughts from our great warrior here, Mr. Stevens. So we need to hear from him on some final thoughts. And Kim might want to share some final thoughts as well. As a matter of fact, we've been very fortunate because we never got a call because, we could have had, he's a fireman. He could have got a call during this time.
He's off today. That's why he picked this Saturday.
Today, fortunately. I was supposed to be on the show. I think last Saturday I was supposed to be on and I had to work. So that wasn't an option.
Yeah, because he's focused on his task. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're quite a few hours.
What he's doing.
But no, I just stay in balance as best you can. And if you're out of balance, remember that you will always right yourself. That you may be out of balance now for the day or for the month or for the year, but over the course of your life, you will be in balance. If you look back over your life, everything kind of balances out eventually, and everything harmonious is harmonious because the universe wouldn't be able to work that way otherwise. So the universe seeks balance, and if you are out of balance, have no fear. Your balance will return. So be patient with yourself. That's a big part of not giving up. And it's a big part of loving yourself, loving who you are, loving the fear about yourself, loving the fact that you have fear, loving the fact that you are weak, and love the fact that you can get better and stronger. Now that you know where the weaknesses are at, you can be stronger. Love every bit about yourself. And that way you get to know yourself and you become a person of conviction. You want to be, if you're going to be a warrior and if you're going to fight for something, you need to be a person of conviction and have convictions and beliefs about something. So being a person of conviction, you can't be swayed by what your environment does. Be the eye of the storm. Be calm. That is the number one thing I work on every single day, is remaining calm and centered and balanced in hectic and chaotic situations. Where I have to lead in many cases. Or work with a team that relies on me to do certain tasks. And I try to stay as calm as possible. And that has been the number one thing that I've worked on this year, is to be more disciplined and to be more calm. So calm is contagious. So if you're calm, then it kind of filters out. If you join the chaos, then it becomes a terrible, terrible thing. And someone else has to do it for you. So you want to be calm, stay in balance, stay in harmony, and just don't give up. Don't give up the fight. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. It just matters that you win once. You just got to win one time. You just got to win once, and it's done. It's not like a season of football or a season in a sport of any kind where you have to make so many wins to balance out the failures. You just have to win once, and the battle is won, and then you can move forward and through. So don't give up. The odds are always in your favor.
Wow. And Stephen, I want to wrap by saying thank you so much for your service to our country and the community and what you do. And the words that you've just shared are just so empowering at a very difficult time. I'll just add to that, my new little phrase that I heard last night that I liked is that permanent is just a long temporary. So don't be stuck on it. Okay. And I think that's something that I speak about when I tell people that anything that we define as fact today is usually defeated, it's different tomorrow. So don't be stuck on it. And thank you for everything, and thank you God.
Thank you for asking me on that.
Back. Welcome to the family. You've spent more than 2 hours with us, so.
Yeah. We've been a bunch of chatty Cathy. She told me it was going to be an hour, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to do that. I only have material for an hour."
I'm used to it. Every show starts at 1 hour on IBM TV, and this is what I love about when we started IBM TV. I hated the networks because they limited us to you can only have 26 minutes and 48 seconds, and it's got to be that. And I'm like, I like this because we can just naturally rap, right? And you can allow comment. We have no restrictions other than no profanity, no porn, no heavy politics, just bad stuff. So anyway, but thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to just read something really quickly. Warriors, we call ourselves. We fight for splendid virtue, for high endeavor, for sublime wisdom. Therefore, we call ourselves warriors.
It's very well put.
It's the kind of warriors we all need to be, right? Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Tish, for having me.
So good to see you again.
Thank you for inviting me. This is wonderful.
Hope we can have you again.
Well, I'll come back anytime you ask me.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly, for having this platform. And Mark, thanks for all your thoughts and your questions. I appreciate it and your contribution to the show. And I was just glad to be here and be a part of it.
No problem. It was a pleasure meeting you. You were a great guest, and I look forward to Tish having you back on again. If you're not careful, once you become part of the family, Kimberly will grab you for other shows as well. So there's no where you may appear. So, like I said, you may even appear on my show or some other shows around. So I definitely enjoyed your energy and definitely felt your warrior spirit. So definitely was glad having you on Tish's show, and just look forward to the next amazing guest that we're gonna have here. Tish, who do we have next week?
We're going to have a melee of millennials. I've been talking the first show and the different shows that I see, right? Seems like we're all of similar age groups, right? So a lot of times it seems like we're just talking amongst ourselves, saying very similar, which is wonderful, right? But I'd like to bring other generations on. Like, for example, Stephen, I'm not going to tell everybody that this came from you or anything like that.
Come on, you put my stuff out on the street? Oh, man. I thought that was a private conversation. Let's unlearn.
But, okay, so I won't quote you. But the point is, now, but so many people, like, there's, anyway, my point is every generation has something to add. We talk about global citizenship. We talk about people from all different countries, all different cultures, all different races, all have something to add.
Sure.
And at least I know I've brought on a lot of folks of a certain generation, and I've seen other people bringing on folks of a certain generation. Part of that is wisdom, life experience, yes. But just like we were talking about, Stephen, we have to slay, our belief system. So let's bring on, so my goal is, I've got a group of millennials, and I find them very intelligent. I find them very in tune and very also entertaining. So I think, and it's a group of friends that are from the theater, so it should be like a lot of fun. So we're basically going to talk about global citizenship. We're going to talk about a little bit about current events because I want to get the millennials' viewpoint, and then I want to see, how what they think about what people say about millennials. I want to just bring up some direct quotes and just see, what they think about it. And eventually I hope to bring on some Generation Zers too, with similar things, and all interspace with different people. And eventually what I'd really like to do is get a multi-generational panel like this. You know what I mean? Like somebody from Z, somebody from millennial, somebody from X, maybe a boomer, and bring up different thoughts from different backgrounds and age groups to try to get an idea so we can slay those old mindsets, Stephen.
Yeah. That's
right.
every generation I feel like sees something in the generation before with their parents or the grandparents that they don't like. So then they just do the opposite, which isn't necessarily the right answer.
Right.
And I think we all kind of need to get away from the mindset that we all need to be doing the same thing or we're not strong.
Yeah,
That's right.
We can all, be individuals and do our own thing, but coexist with one another and care about one another and be together as individuals at the same time. And that goes back to observation without judgment and being calm within and okay with who you are. Because you can't give away what you don't have. So if you're not okay with who you are, you're going to look around your environment and try to find people to point the finger at, to blame, instead of look at yourself and do your inner work. It's easier.
Exactly right.
So anyway.
Good point.
I'm gonna
enjoy this Saturday and all that it has. And thank you for planting the good seed today on IBM TV, right? I'm not advertising here. It's just
I hope it did something.
That's right.
You did.
Good. So anyway, everyone take care, and we'll see you right now. Mark, do you guys? I've never been on this show. Do you guys wrap with an outro?
We do have music, right, Mark?
I'm going to see if he gave me the music, and I'm going to see if he gave me the other thing. But we will We'll try to wrap it up one way or the other.
Right. I don't have a control panel. I'm not used to. I'm shaking. You have no idea. I'm so used to being in control. I have no control over this stage. This is making me. It's been very hard. As you notice, I've had to put my arms down, going, you can't touch this one. So.
Gotta let go.
I do. I'm learning. It's nice. It's nice to know that you've got other people who really take very good control of everything. And we've got such a wonderful team. We're growing fast. I mean, we're going from 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, to almost 8 hours a day.
Yep.
Fabulous.
Wow.
Airtime, yeah.
You guys are up and coming. Moving forward. You guys are big time.
Yeah, well,
and we're hoping to go 24 hours. Answer your question, we're still working on the music end of things. So, Tish, forgive me for that this time, but we will have it together next time. So, just we end with a quick closing, Tish, and then we will have music and everything else for you next time.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'd just like to give a shout out to Claudia Ricard. She blew up the comments, man. Like, I love all the positive. I'm literally looking over it now because I had it on private chat, so I couldn't see the comments. So this is my first time doing this, and I apologize for my ignorance.
Is Claudia your friend? Hi, Claudia.
Yeah, she's the one that talks about putting it up, up your arse to get you going. She's the English therapist. Hopefully she'll be a guest on our show here pretty soon. She's so much fun, but she's also got
a lot of positive comments. So thank you for the positive feedback and
hey, Claudia.
So cheerleading.
I'm going to friend you on Facebook. Please have my Instagram.
Just real quickly as we're wrapping up everything, Tish, that's a great way that we can close things. I'm going to run off some of these names of folks that have commented. I was actually putting them on the feed as y'all were talking, so folks did see the comments. But among the folks that commented were, of course, our wonderful fellow producer, Ankit, and, of course, Claudia made several comments. So Claudia Rickard was one of those that was making several comments about what was going on. Also, Angelina Rogers was commenting. And, of course, your relative, who we learned about last week, John Oakley. So John was making comments as well.
It's my brother.
Relatively speaking.
Tish's relatives. I believe that's your brother, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And then last but not least was Mark Laramere. So Mark Laramere also made comments as well. And that was on Facebook.
And you'll be able to watch this. We have video on demand, so you can share with your friends and watch it forever. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
This is permanent.
I'm just playing. All right.
Now, wait, no edit. No editing. No editing whatsoever. What you see is what you get. And
I hope they don't see my video.
Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to sign out. Mark, take care, everybody.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Tish.
No problem.
Well, see ya. I don't see a button, Mark.
I'll remove you.